You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
To make sure the economy doesn't collapse, I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
Welcome to the program, folks. So glad to have you here. September 11th, 2017 on the Lanterns Radio Network. Do me a favor, check us out on lanterns.buzz. You can find great content. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and now on iHeartRadio. And I'm on iHeartRadio now because of all of you listeners. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. Follow us on Facebook at Lanterns, and my personal one at AJ Davis Podcast. On Twitter as well, at Oregon Redskin is my own, and follow Lanterns at Lanterns Buzz. Got a lot in store tonight for you. I want to cover the topics that are surrounding the nation right now. Not the hurricanes, because those are a lot bigger in my opinion than these. I'm going to cover DACA, and I'm going to cover the inclusive city resolution in my town and the city council meeting that I went. And there was about 30 to 40 people standing there to talk about it. Got a lot to say about that. But first we're going to get to DACA. DACA was established in 2012 by executive order by President Barack Obama. It was a temporary thing. I did not support it then. I do not support it now. But now that President Trump has indicated that he wants to end it, but then he almost contradicts himself by tweeting out this on September 7th. For all those DACA that are concerned about your status during the 6-month period, you have nothing to worry about. No action. So what does that mean, President Trump? Are you ending it, or are you just saying this? Because, like I've said in past episodes, I don't really think he has an agenda. He just wants to win. Remember, that's what he said when he was campaigning. You're going to get so sick and tired of winning. Okay, I admit, I'm sick of winning. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it already. Whew. But they are going nuts about it right now. But it doesn't matter who was in office. They would be going nuts about it. Even though he sides more with Democrats than he does Republicans. But he has an R in front of his name. It's power. Power, power, power. They do not want to listen to him. And all the politicians are getting up there. We're going to have to deport all these children. How dare you be compassionate about these children? And I'm going to quote Matt Walsh. Please don't, and I'm going to quote, please don't complain about deporting children if you support murdering them. You are standing on a mountain of dead kids while you sermonize about being compassionate to kids, end quote. I think he hit the nail right on the head. How can you demand all of us be compassionate, yet you're okay with selling body parts over down at the local Planned Parenthood because little Johnny and little Martha had a thing? Oh, and it's inconvenient because they're both 18 or 20, and she has a baby now. Uh-oh. But you want me to be compassionate about keeping people here that broke the law? Or their parents broke the law? I don't know what the answer is. I really, truly don't. Well, there's two sides right now. But I'm kind of, as a follower of Christ, I'm stuck. Because I support the rule of law. I also have a hard time just sending people back to a country where they've never lived. It's a tough situation, but the rule of law is number one to me. It really is. But you got people like Watson Prunier on the Battle for Freedom who has some great suggestions, has some great ideas. I just don't know. There has to be a national dialogue about the solution. And I'm not saying that Watson's wrong. I'm not saying that he's right. But I commend him for bringing something to the table besides the rest of you politicians and fearmongers who are just, you can't do this, you have to do this. We got to have some real dialogue. We have to really sit there and talk about what should we do, what can we do. Currently, there's 800,000 people that were awarded the DACA program. What are there more than that? There's people right now probably signing up like you wouldn't believe, because President Trump has said that he is going to put a 6-month hold and start deporting people that have broken the law. But I say, let's go to the battlefield of ideas. Let's go to the battlefield and let's talk about this. Let's not just yell and scream at each other. Let's get in front of this. Let's talk about, okay, if you do not want to support the rule of law on this, well, should all my speeding tickets get taken away? Should all my taxes not be paid? Do we let all the bank robbers out of jail? We have to have consistency. And that's what I try to bring you week in and week out here on Common Sense Radio with me. Consistency is number one. Rule of law is of the utmost importance. While the media is sitting there telling you, we cannot do this, I'm sitting here telling you, don't listen to them. Because if that's all they're saying to you, and they're not giving you the battlefield of ideas, they're not bringing solutions, they're not bringing, and of course they're bringing a type of solution, but they are biased, and they're saying either deport or keep them. We have to have consistency. That's why we need to have a national dialogue about this. Like I just said, do we let people out of jail for robbing banks? Do I get all my parking tickets and speeding tickets wiped off? Do I get all my taxes back? I mean, come on. Oh, that's something different. No. I'm talking about consistency. We're talking about rule of law. Why can we make a little bit of a pass, give a little bit of a pass for 800,000 people that were brought here by their parents, and a majority of them, I'm sure, are fantastic people. That's not the point. Consistent. We have to have a standard that we follow. We have to have a set of rules that every person is to follow. I want you to take a listen to this clip, and I think you'll enjoy it.
With respect to the notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case, because there are laws on the books that Congress has passed, and I know that everybody here at Bell is studying hard, so you know that we've got 3 branches of government. Congress passes the law. The executive branch's job is to enforce and implement those laws. And then the judiciary has to interpret the laws. There are enough laws on the books by Congress that are very clear in terms of how we have to enforce our immigration system, that for me to simply, through executive order, ignore those congressional mandates would not conform with my appropriate role as president.
I taught the Constitution for 10 years. I believe in the Constitution, and I will obey the Constitution of the United States. We're not going to use signing statements as a way of doing an end run around Congress. We're not going to use signing statements as a way of doing an end run around Congress. All right?
I've got a pen and I've got a phone. And I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward.
That's the good thing about being president. I can do whatever I want.
How incredible was that? You have somebody that was campaigning, and I'm not just saying President Obama was the only one that did that. I think President Trump did the same thing. They wrote a check that their cash... I'm screwing that all up tonight, aren't I? They wrote a check that they cannot cash. He was describing that we have 3 branches of government. Well, yeah, we have the judicial, executive, and Congress, legislative. Congress makes laws. You sign them, you have the opportunity to veto them. But then you hear later on in the clip, I have a pen and a phone. That, to me, is disturbing. And like we've said, it's politicians being politicians around here. All they care about is getting your vote and power. And then you hear, we're not going to make a bunch of signing statements so we can make an end round around Congress. Yeah, that's what the Constitution was set up for. The executive order is an overreach whenever you're trying to legislate. There are some things that are necessary, but it's become, year after year, more of a tool for a political party, an ideologue president, to use that to get his agenda pushed or get things done that they want to. And I find it disturbing if a Democrat does it, and I find it even more disturbing if a Republican does it. I've told you, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I don't even like to describe myself as a conservatarian anymore. Because if Donald Trump or John Kasich or Mitch McConnell are the face of conservatism, count me out, buddy. Count me out. That is absolutely not something I'm going to be part of. I refuse to. It's absurd that anyone goes out on the campaign trail and says one thing, and then when you get in office, does something completely different. I guess that's it's probably closer to 99% of politicians. And us as the American people keep sitting back and taking it. Oh, but they need some more help in the Congress. Oh, they need some more help on the city council. Oh, they need more help down at the legislature in my state capital. That's absurd, in my opinion. Absurd. It's always something. Why can't you just get something done? Because it's about votes. It's about leading people to believe that they're working on something when all they care about is doing what's in their best interest. I always tell my kids and I tell my wife, when it doesn't affect you, it doesn't matter. That's my motto that I'm kind of living by now. When it doesn't affect you, it doesn't matter. And to me, it's absolutely scary that we have people in this country that believe what these politicians are saying. Because I can see through the thick lies that they spew day in and day out. Like I said, 1% of them are pretty good. I can trust people like Ben Sass, Rand Paul, Mike Lee. But here in my state, None of my politicians I feel like I can trust. It's sad because all they care about is the next election. The next election. Anyways, we're going to take a break here, and we come back on the other side. I'm going to dive into the inclusive city resolution. Boy, that's going to be fun. I hardly can wait. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
In every rising of the sun, my purpose was to be thankful to be alive. I was even more thankful for the blessings that came with this life, specifically Virdis, my wife. But that came to an end when Aklavane and her minions violently took her away from me. So my new purpose in this life is to gather all the pieces of the Stone's Heart so I can defeat Aklavane and get back my bride. Join me as I travel to new worlds, making new friends and avoiding old enemies. Read more about my story in the first 2 books of the Stone's Heart series, which are now available on Amazon.com in Kindle format. The first book is The Quest for Savitvarda, and that is followed by The Heart of Pagaila. Stone's Heart is more than a fantasy and a sci-fi quest. It's me fighting to get back my precious wife, despite the overwhelming odds against me. Stone's Heart. Join, explore, and believe.
Check out Lumberlax. This is a company started by an 11-year-old Kai Talley. He plays lacrosse, and the money that they profit off of the business, they use to help less fortunate kids that cannot play lacrosse. He partners with nonprofits to give money to kids that physically cannot play the game due to special needs or illness. This is an amazing thing that he is doing, and he is extremely involved in his community. Take a look at the website, lumberlax.com, or email them directly at lumberlax@comcast.net and order a custom shaft for yourself or someone else. They also do coaches gifts, team sticks, they work with people to do fundraisers, and so much more. Please check out lumberlax.com, official sponsor of Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the program, folks. So glad to have you here tonight. Check us out at lanterns.buzz, and you can find great lanternaires who are out there spreading messages to fix the machine, because here at Lanterns, we're here to fix the machine. So, I want to start covering the city council meeting that I went to. I know, I'm doing the hard things here over at Lanterns. Going to Jeff Merkley's town hall as a reporter, going to the city council meeting here in Carlton, Oregon, to hear what everyone has to say about the inclusive city resolution 251. And I want to state a disclaimer. I went to this meeting as a investigative journalist. I did not put my opinion at all, or while I was taking notes during the meeting. Once I stepped out of that city hall and started talking with 3 people outside of that, I did put a little bit of my opinion in. But that's what I have this platform for. This is my platform to speak my opinion and bring you facts. And that's what I'm going to do here. But I do want to put a disclaimer. I do not hate business. I'm supportive of capitalism. And everything that you're about to hear from me regarding this subject is an opinion. Everything on this show you're going to hear is opinion from me. But I'm not going to come to you without facts. But I'm going to give you my opinion. And one thing that is something that really is bothering me is when business and government colludes. And it appears that a lot of that is what's happened in the city of Carlton. And I'll get to that later on in the program. I talked to people that were supportive of this resolution, and I talked to people that were against this resolution. I talked to more people that were for it than I did that were people against it. And all the time that I was there, I was dumbfounded by the lack of respect people were given to others with opposite views of their own. Carlton is a small town in the heart of Willamette Valley with 22 wine tasting rooms, 40 wineries. It's a large tourist city. We have about, I would say, 2,000 to 2,200 people living in Carlton, give or take a few. It's a quiet place that my family and I have called home for the last 4 to 5 years, and we enjoy it here. But one thing that I have found out, because this is the first small rural town that I've lived in, that people worship their government. They worship their small town. They don't want to hear facts. They don't want to hear anything negative about what they perceive their little town to become. One thing that really, really bothered me was the way that the mayor was running the meeting. The mayor's been in the city government for a long time. And I think the heat is what was getting to everybody. I could feel the tension in the air when I walked into that room, and people were lined up outside, and the chief of police had to tell everyone, we're going to lift all the chairs up, it's going to be standing room only. That's when I knew this was going to be an intense meeting. And what I wanted to bring was a spot, or not a spot, but I wanted to bring an opinion that was not biased, that did not favor one side or not, but it was asking tough questions. And there were a lot of people that spoke at this city council meeting on September 5th, 2017. And there was a lot that supported it, and there was a lot that did not support. And if you go back to my previous episodes where I covered the chalk on the sidewalk that really just got everyone up in a tizzy. It was sidewalk chalk. It was probably some dumb teenager that was trying to be cool, which they weren't. And they got all these residents upset and demanding that we pass a resolution, demanding that the city takes a stance. Well, there's your first problem. You cannot legislate or pass laws or rules to change people's hearts. And I think that's the most important thing that I gathered from this city council meeting. Because it was something. It was something that I have never experienced in my life. So we all get in there and we're told that you have 1 minute 30 seconds to speak. Okay, I'm going, all right, well, that's not very much time, but so be it. There were many people that were in supportive of this resolution that went over their minute and 30 seconds. And people that questioned the city government were practically held to that minute 30 seconds. And when they did want to, the people that were against it, I will give credit where credit's due. They did allow them to have rebuttals. They did allow them to say one last thing. But I find a certain situation in the beginning of the meeting where an older lady, no, she wasn't older. She was older than me because I'm only 33. So she was standing by the side door and she was talking about how immigration is the law of the land, and if illegal people, and she quoted as saying, are not here following the law, they are not entitled to anything, end quote. That did not set what it appeared to be the room very high on this lady. But I sat there and I just taking notes and listening and observing her demeanor, and it was astonishing to me how nervous she felt because all the eyes were on her, and she felt that she needed to say what she needed to say and get out of there ASAP. And not everyone was like that. But this lady got done with her speech or her statement and was getting ready to leave out the side door, and somebody said, oh, you left your purse. And one of the city councilors, one of the newer ones, I'll leave it at that, was, I've never seen the disrespect and mocking in my life when she says, you better get your purse because those people will take it. I looked at my sister-in-law and my jaw dropped to the ground. How is an elected official, even if not an elected official, how are you going to talk to somebody like that? To me, it was something that was astonishing. I still am astonished that this council member would talk to voters this way. Oh, I know why. Because this council member supported this resolution. This council member, also was the one who had the first hand up to carry the motion. I at the end of this program, I will tell you how I think it is started. No. I will tell you and explain to you how and why this has been such a quick draw to get this resolution passed and out in the open. It's something that is being driven behind the scenes. It's something that is being pushed from the political and the business area. But I will give you an opinion on that at the end after this segment. I'm going to cover the testimony of many people at this city council meeting. We're going to go ahead and take a break right here. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the program, folks. So glad to have you here tonight. So I'm going to go over the public testimony, but one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was how the city council, actually it wasn't the city council, it was the city manager and the city attorney who was talking about they're following the lead of other cities in the area that have adopted inclusivity resolutions. So I grabbed some audio that was from the city of Salem, Oregon, which is about 31 miles south of where I live at. It's a hop, jump, and a skip away on some back roads. And just listen to this statement. It is absolutely astonishing. It's crazy. Just listen to this clip.
Thank you. Just a couple of brief comments. To your point, Councilor Lewis, I think it's important that people stand up, but sometimes it's hard for people to find their voice because they are afraid. I can recognize that I have certain privileges because I'm white, because I'm a citizen, because I live where I do. And so I need to stand up for people when they feel like they can't because the color of their skin is a wrong color, because they're undocumented, because they're unsure if they're going to make it home that night. And so I think it's important for all of us, and especially people who are white, that we become allies with people who aren't. And we recognize that we have white privilege in this country, and that it's important to stand for people that don't. I think the first time I really realized this, it was about 7 years ago. I was a student teacher at McKay High School for a semester. I was in a social studies class. I was in a class of primarily Latino students. And I said, I want to talk about immigration. And they said, Ms. Kaiser, we don't want to talk about that. Because if you talk about that outside of school, you could get shot. Somebody could stab you. You could get deported. My family could get deported. And it was in that moment that I really realized I have white privilege. And I think until we really recognize that, we cannot pretend to know the experience of people of color, and especially people who are immigrants, and especially undocumented immigrants. Okay. I think it's very important that we support this resolution, and I'm so proud of all the people who have shown here tonight, and I counted there are 45 people that testified, which is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
How amazing was that? And I'm not meaning in a good way. Oh, gosh. Lord, please protect these misguided people. Please protect these people that divide and make divisive comments in public. I do understand, God, they are misguided, they're sick, but please, God, just lift them up and help heal them. Amen. So when I was at this meeting, there was multiple women that got up and talked about how they had white privilege. And I had never in my entire life witnessed people actually saying that or believing it. It was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed in my life when a young lady got up there that was probably around my age, got up there with a prepared statement and was talking about how she would not understand because she was a woman that had white privilege. And it was funny because if you look at the entire city of Carlton councilors, they are all Caucasian. Well, from the outside, I know I'm discriminating against. But maybe some of them identify as people of color. But from the outside, they're all white. Everybody that was at that meeting was Caucasian or white. Not one person of color was there, because if it was such an issue with these sidewalk chalk art or people going around causing all kinds of issues, why would there not be people at the city council meeting? Because I'm going to go out here on a limb and say it's a politically driven situation. It's a politically driven resolution. And at the end of this segment, I'm going to tell you what I've determined, from my opinion, why this was pushed. There were many people that got up in front of this council. And each and every one of them, I want to make it clear that I support their right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I support it, whether I agree with it or not. Some of them I thought were kind of kooky, but that's okay. That's what makes this country so great. And some of them are still some of the comments are still making me think. There was a lady that got up there, and I'm not going to mention her name, I've been in contact with her, that got up there, and honestly in the beginning I couldn't tell if she supported or was against the resolution at the beginning. And that's how it should have been. She got up there and mentioned how she has 2 children in the United States military, protecting our country. And how could she sit back and remain silent if she did not get up and stand for freedom? If she did not get up whenever her community was making a foolish decision based on emotions. Because it seemed like most of this entire city council meeting was people that were emotional, people that had no business being there, and all they wanted to do was get up and talk about white privilege. Not all of them, but a majority of them got up there. I would say, for instance, there's probably 15 people that got up there, excluding myself. And there was probably 4 that were against it, and the rest were for it. And you know me, I can't sit back. So after about 6-7 people went, I had to. I could not hold back. And I think I was a very down the middle, moderate question. I asked, well, no, I didn't. You're supposed to make a statement. That's what they wanted to hear, because then the city council doesn't have to interact. Well, I changed it at that moment. I said, I don't have a statement. I have a question, and that's for the mayor. And you knew she was happy about seeing me, because they all know me down there, because I'm a troublemaker. I'm a rebel. I said, Mayor, what is this ordinance? And I screwed up. I said ordinance there, but it's a resolution. What does this do that the city was not complying with prior to this being passed? And I tell you what, she didn't know how to respond. She was so flabbergasted. It was actually amusing watching, because the meeting from the get-go was just a disaster how it was being ran. I think the heat was getting to her. I think it was getting to all the councilors, the city manager, and the attorney. These people had never experienced that many people that would come and speak out or speak up against stuff that they're doing. Never in their life have they had. And when someone like me who gets up there, who has the spine to ask any of them anything, she was sweating bullets. And her response to what I asked her was, well, when none of us are up here, it'll be something that's written down. And I speak up and I go, I don't think you've answered my question. Oh, the city manager had to jump right in. He and I are best friends. Best friends. Chad, you and I are best friends. You should defer to the city attorney. Oh, the city attorney jumped right in and said this is more of an aspirational moment, resolution. So that, right at that moment, that got me thinking intensely. It got me really, really deeply thinking, and I had a hard time paying attention and focusing the rest of the meeting. But I did the best I could because I took notes. That's why I was writing everything down. And after mine, there was a lady who got up, and I can't remember. I know she was a business owner in Carlton. I don't know if she was a winery owner or something. But she basically, from what I remember, and I could be off a little bit, was saying that she was already breaking laws, bully laws, of how she was describing people that were working, that were taking 10 minutes and sometimes working through their lunches. I found that pretty incredible that she would admit that kind of stuff on the record. I'm going to go and get a copy, see if I can get a copy of all the statements that were made so I make sure I'm accurately describing that. And as soon as I do, I will shoot that out over Facebook and Twitter. If I lead with my mistakes. If I made a mistake, but I recall that happened, and I have a pretty good memory. It was just, the whole experience was, it was actually more interesting to me than the senator town hall. Because the senator's town hall was more set up so no one could really ask him tough questions. This, they could not stop you from asking tough questions. And they rearranged the entire agenda because they were not anticipating that many people to show up. That's what was hilarious to me. There was many people that spoke up at this meeting. And that's good. I really, whether you're for it or against it, that's what's great about America. And I'll say that over and over again. But they got sick and tired of anyone that disagreed with him, and they started, okay, your time's up. But if anyone went that agreed with him, they would let them speak for 2-3 minutes. And I started putting my wrist up like I'm looking at the watch. And the mayor looked at me right in the face. And nothing happened. But that's how it goes. I expect that to happen. And it's okay. So once everyone got to say their statements or got up there and asked a question, deliberations kicked in. And woo-wee. It was interesting. There were there were 3 council members that had something to say. The first one said that he agreed with all of the public testimony. I'm paraphrasing what he said. Agreed with it, but that this resolution did not really mean anything because, like, one of the people that were supportive of it said the only way that you can change people is by changing their hearts. And I support her. God bless her for getting up there and saying that. But the council member voted for the resolution. So I thought that was kind of contradictory, because he also said that he didn't do much research on this. But you're voting for it? Give me a break. He needs to be voted out. If you're not doing research on such a sensitive topic, even if you're on city council, you need to be voted out, in my opinion. Then the council president, who he and I have had our run-ins, and we don't see exactly eye to eye, he got up there and says, I can't support this whenever it's not following the rule of law. We all have stood up here and we've all taken an oath to support the rule of law. I even reached out to this city councilor and said, thank you for having a spine. Thank you for doing the right thing. And would you like to say anything to my audience? And that's exactly what I got. Silent. I got crickets from this guy. So, next, the last counselor said that they supported it, and it's our moral compass to pass this resolution. So out of the 6 city council members, all of them voted for it except for the council president. And then cheers broke out across the entire city chambers, because they were so excited to have it passed. So, wiping the sweat off the counselors' foreheads, they were glad to have that over with and see everybody hustle out, because not very many people stayed after that. They didn't give a darn. Isn't that very, very, very pathetic that you're there for only the thing that matters to you, and you don't care about the other stuff that actually affects you? That was just incredible to me. So my sister-in-law and I go outside, and one of the ladies that stood up, and she articulated things perfectly. Like I said, she was the one that said, you can't legislate this. You can only change people's hearts. I thought that was a very important point that she made. And 2 of the people that were supportive of this resolution were out there just... It appeared that they were ganging up on her. So I wanted to dive right in and hear what they had to say and take some notes. And did I? It was probably more interesting, the conversation. I wish I could have recorded it all. It was more interesting, the conversation that we all had, than the entire city council meeting. It was phenomenal. One of the ladies said that she kept preaching, I'm a middle-aged woman of privilege, of white privilege. And I said, well, what does that mean? She goes, did you go to a public education? Did you get a public education? I go, yeah, but I went to school with a lot of diverse people. She didn't continue, needless to say. In another moment, the other person spoke up and when we got to discussing things, and said that she would harbor criminals who are breaking the law because she doesn't agree with the law, but yet she supported the rule of law. That was absolutely nuts to me. And then they both tried to outsmart us and say, what about Germany? What about Germany? My sister-in-law pipes up, well, there's a big difference between deportation and gas chambers. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yes, there is. A big difference between sending people back to the country of the laws that they broke and killing someone. So I thought that was quite interesting, and other people on the Lanterns Radio Network that I've talked to about this, just all they could say was, wow. And I mean, what else can you say from that? What else can you say from that? I mean, I could literally talk to you all night long about how things went, my perception, my opinion, but I only have 54 minutes, and I have to get to why I think, and I brainstormed with my sister-in-law, my wife, about this, why this was pushed through. I believe, I don't have any proof, but it seems that the wineries pushed this behind closed doors. They had a hard time getting people for harvest this past harvest season, and with the political landscape that's happening right now, they're not coming to work in Carlton. And that was a lot of the comments that were being said at the council meeting. And I thought that was astonishing, because one of the city councilors and other people were saying, those people. And I just said, bah! My head was exploding when they were describing people as that. So yeah, I think this was being pushed from the wineries, and there were rumors going around town in the area that they had a hard time getting labor for last harvest. Well, the harvest season's right around the corner, and what this resolution would do would let them know that you have nothing to fear coming to this city. We will put you to work. And for some of the people that were speaking, they might break bully laws, but what are you going to do? Because you're out here working for them. It was just an incredible. So what I want you to do is you just make your own opinion. I gave you the facts of what happened at the meeting. I talked to a lot of good people about this. And I think it's wrong that the city council even put their name on this. This is not their job. But, as I told you, my assumption is that this was pushed behind closed doors, and I guarantee it was. So, from Carlton, Oregon, the progressive mecca, you're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.